My goal with this video is to teach you the basics of using SketchUp effectively. To do that, I'm going to walk you through the process of designing a timber frame. Now, while I'm using timber frame as an example, these techniques would translate well into using SketchUp for whatever you want to design. I use SketchUp primarily in support of my woodworking hobby. Pretty much everything I've ever made, I first designed myself using SketchUp. I find it helps me work through and refine my design ideas and sort out my design details in the computer, so I make fewer mistakes in the shop. I'm currently focused on timber frames because this summer my daughter and I were lucky enough to take a 9-day build-your-own timber frame workshop at the North House Folk School in Minnesota. There we built a timber frame for a small wood-fired sauna. When I got home, I completed the detail design for the sauna in SketchUp. And the sauna is really just practice for a bigger dream of building her a small timber frame home. And naturally, I used SketchUp to design that. Over the next few months, I plan to document the complete building process on this channel. So far, we've made the sauna frame and cut down and milled a few thousand board feet of poplar that we'll use for the project. If you're interested in seeing these projects come to life from here, please subscribe. But for now, let's get back to SketchUp. This is the frame I'm going to walk you through designing. And while I haven't built this one myself, these two guys have. That's Ben on the left and Glenn on the right. And they each have their own YouTube channel, and they've documented the entire timber frame build process. I'll include a link to their playlist at the end of this video. Now with any design, you've got to start with an idea of what it is you're trying to create. This sketch gives the basic dimensions of the frame we're going to make here. It's made up of 3 bents that are 10 feet wide, and the whole building is 16 feet long. It's made up of 6x6, 6x8, and 3x6 timbers. Keep these basic dimensions in mind as we now move into SketchUp. So here we are in SketchUp in an empty model. The first thing I'm going to do is draw a rectangle to represent the base of the sauna, so the foundation. And it's 10 feet by 16 feet. And the first tip I'll offer is that I do almost everything in SketchUp with hotkeys. So I press the R key on the keyboard to go into drawing a rectangle mode. Clicked on the origin to draw one corner, and then I drag in the other direction to shape the rectangle. You notice in the bottom right corner you see the dimensions of what I'm drawing. And if I want to be exact, I can just simply type a value in it. So if I type 10 with the foot symbol, comma, 16 with the foot symbol, you see that, oops, I got a typo, 10 feet, comma, 16 feet, and type enter, I get a rectangle that's precisely 10 feet by 16 feet. And to create solids, SketchUp works with a sketch and extrude operation. The extrude is known as a push-pull. So I press the P key on the keyboard, and then I can pull that face down 6 inches, just type 6, enter, and I've got a 6-inch thick slab representing the concrete foundation for my timber frame. The next big tip is that you want to turn almost everything you make in SketchUp into components. Press the space key on the keyboard to go into select mode. If I click once, I select what I clicked. If I click twice, I get the face and all the edges connected to it. Click 3 times and I get everything connected to it. So I've triple clicked, right click, and say make component. And we'll call this our foundation. Right? And by making components, when I draw other objects, they don't end up stuck to the previous object. I'm going to select the little guy that's in there for representation and hit the delete key on the keyboard to get rid of him. And the next thing we're going to do is draw a 6x6 post, or start with a rectangle representing the base of the post. So again, the R key on the keyboard, move off in the direction I want to draw it, type 6, 6 on the keyboard, and I have a 6x6 inch rectangle. Again, P to go into push pull that up 8 feet, or I could type 96 for 96 inches, and I've got an 8-foot post. Again, I want to turn it into a component. Space bar to go into select mode, triple click to select all of the connected entities, right click, make component, and this is our post. Next, it's nice to give some colors and textures to object, and that is done with this paint bucket mode. I hit the B key on the keyboard to get that. We've got several objects for wood. I think this wood plywood knots looks somewhat like a pine post. And if I pick the asphalt and concrete, and I can get something that looks like a concrete foundation there. Okay, so I've got one post drawn and I've got the foundation drawn. The next thing I want to do is create a copy of my post for the other side of the first vent. M is a hotkey for the move operation. If you hold the control key while you move, and I picked on the bottom corner of the post so that I'm holding it there while I move it, I get a copy. So M with the control key is a copy operation. So now I've got two posts that are 10 feet apart, or 10 feet to the outside corners. The next thing I want to do is draw our girt, which is a 6x8 timber, and it actually starts a couple inches from the top of the post. Another handy tip is T for tape measure. You can use it to measure the distance between 2 points. Obviously that will be 6 inches. Or if you pick a horizontal or reference line and then you move off of it, I type 2 on the keyboard, I've now got a reference line that's 2 inches from the top of the post. I can pick that reference line and go down another 8 inches, and then I can draw another rectangle to get my 6x8 girt cross section. Again, P on the keyboard to pull across to the opposite post. 1, 2, 3 clicks, right click, make component, and this is our girt. Use the paint bucket to make it also that pine color. Okay, next let's get into some of the joinery details, right? This girt is actually joined to this post with a tenon, mortise and tenon joint. So let's temporarily hide the girt, and we can double click to edit the post. Again, use this tape measure option. I'm going to get a reference line at the center of the post. It automatically will find the center of objects, and then I want to go 0.75 inches away from that in one direction or 3/4 in the other. Notice that you can type either 0.75 or 3/4 to get 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to draw a rectangle representing the mortise pocket, and then I can push that in. So this happens to be a 4-inch tenon, so I type 4 on the keyboard and enter, or sorry, 4-inch mortise. And now I have 4-inch mortise in this post. Now remember that we made this other post, we made it as a copy of the previous post. And that's convenient because when I edit one object, the other object gets the same characteristics. Now, unfortunately, this post has the mortise on the wrong side of the post. That's actually easy to fix. Right click on the component I want to flip and say flip along. In this case, I want to go to the component's red direction. And now I flipped it so that the mortise is on the inside of the post. Edit, unhide all. We get our girt back. Double click to edit the girt. Another handy hotkey is the K key on the keyboard. That allows you to see the back edges. You can see the edges that are sort of hidden from view. And so while editing the girt, I can draw a rectangle between here and here and pull the face I've just drawn, the same 4 inches as I did for the tenon, and now I've got a mortise on that post. Even though I can't really see it, it's hidden, or mortise on the girt. If I hide the post, you can see I've got a mortise, or sorry, a tenon on the girt, matching the mortise in the post, and I need to create the same thing on the other end. Again, the ability to see those back edges makes this easier to work, even though I'm kind of inside the object. And I can pull it that same 4 inches as the mortise pocket in the post. Okay. The next thing is actually these, the girts actually have a haunched tenon. And I haven't drawn it that way yet, but I can edit the girt, use drag select to select all of the edges in a particular space, M key on the keyboard, and now you see I'm moving all of those edges I selected in the box. I want to move 1 inch to create a 1-inch haunched tenon on this end. I can do the same thing on the other end, select all these edges and points, M key on the keyboard, move it 1 inch. Okay, so now I've got a haunched shoulder on the girt, and I want to, on the post, create the same effect. Right? So I double click to edit the post. I can click the L key on the keyboard to draw a couple of lines to map out that triangular face. I'll push that in. Now it only lets me push it kind of halfway through, because what happens is if I hide the girt, you can see that I ran into the mortise pocket. So double click to edit. T for tape measure. If I double click on this line, I get the reference line, which is handy. So then I can draw another line object between here and here. P to push pull, push across. E is the eraser. I can erase a construction line I don't need there. And I've created the haunched shoulder on the post as well. And if I unhide all, you can see that again, the other post, we've got the haunch tendon, haunch shoulder on the post. Next detail we can do is add some tendons to the top of our posts. Again, T for our tape measure. I can grab the midpoint of the post and then go 3/4 of an inch to one side of it and 3/4 of an inch to the other, that center line, and then draw a rectangle between here and here. P on the keyboard to pull, 4-inch tendon. And again, because we created these objects as a copy, I've got the same thing on the other side. Next thing we want to do is draw the king post that goes up to the ridge plate. So double click to edit our girt. T for tape measure. I'm going to find the center line, center point somewhere here of the girt. You'll notice when it highlights in the little blue color, I've got the center. It's sometimes hard to find. Where is it? I'm having trouble finding the center. All right, try it another way. I'm going to draw tape measure from this edge over 5 feet. That's the center. And then I can get another reference line from this post to that point. And now I can, boom, there's my center point of beam, or girt rather. Edit that. T for tape measure. Go 3 inches to one side, 3 inches to the other. And actually I went out of edit mode because I want to draw an independent object. I got a 6-inch post, which I'm going to pull up. I don't really know how long it is. I'll pull it 4 feet for now. Again, 1, 2, 3 clicks, right click, make component. We'll call this our king post. B for the paint bucket to give it that nice kind of pine looking color. And next we're going to want to draw a tenon on the king post and a mortise in the girt. So I'll double click to edit my girt. Tape measure, find the midpoint, and then 3/4 of an inch on each side of the midpoint. You get a 1.5 inch tenon. Rectangle between this point, flip it around. I just use the middle mouse to rotate the object. P to push pull. Oh, you can see I didn't get that rectangle in the right place, so Control Z to undo. Rectangle from that point to that point. You gotta be careful. You can fix things after the fact, but it's easier to get them right the first time. P to push pull, down 4 inches, and I've got a 4-inch mortise in the girt. Double click to edit the post. Rectangle from there to there. P to push pull, down 4 inches, and now I've got a matching tenon on the king post. Here, let's show you another way. I want to create a tenon on the top of this post. Show you another way to do that just for fun. So edit this post, and I'm going to select all of the entities that represent the top of the post. Hit Control C on the keyboard. I'm going to edit this post and hit Control V to paste, and I'm just sort of holding it somewhere. I find the point, place it on the corner. So there you go. Now I've got a matching tenon on the top of the post, the king post, although it's not quite right. It hasn't been filled in right. So the first thing is there's a little face here I want to get rid of, and then I can draw R for a rectangle to fill in the missing face on this side. Let me get that again. Oh, sometimes it doesn't want to do it. Another cheat is I can draw a line from one corner to another, and sometimes that'll do it. And I can erase my construction lines I don't need. Again, line. When you draw a line between connecting objects, SketchUp is always trying to fill in and make faces when it can. There you go. So there's another way of creating a tenon on the end of the king post. So I've built up a whole bunch of construction guidelines here. Edit, delete guides will clean things up. And I have created the first major posts of the bent. Next thing we want to do is create some knee braces. The knee braces are T to draw a reference line. I believe they are 30 inches from, or they meet the posts 30 inches from the corner joint, so 30. And then I can draw a line between where those reference lines connect with the objects. And then I'm going to draw a tape measure to get a reference line that's parallel to that one, but offset by 6 inches. I didn't get the direction right. Try it again. Offset in this, make sure I'm in the right plane, 6 inches. And now I can just draw some lines connecting these reference lines. And I've got a 6-inch wide parallelogram, which I'm going to push 3 inches in to make a 3x6 knee brace. 1, 2, 3 clicks, right click, make component, knee brace. Right, again, B with paint bucket, make it a nice pine color. Next I want to draw tendons for the knee braces. So I'm going to edit the knee brace. I can just draw a line from the 2 center points. It's a 1.5 inch tendon, which is halfway through a 3-inch member. And I'm going to pull that and make 3-inch tendons. So I type 3 on the keyboard. Now, that's okay, except that, let's hide the post for the moment. On made from real lumber, the tendon wouldn't actually stick out in this direction, but would rather be tape measure. Let's edit this component. Tape measure, double click there, draw a line, and the actual knee brace would have this little piece cut off. E to erase that construction line I don't need. And then I can repeat the process on the other end. Line between here and here. P to pull 3 inches. Hide the girt. I've already got the construction line I need here. Line between here and here. Pull. Oh, I have to go in edit mode. Whoops. Control Z to undo because I wasn't in edit mode for the component I wanted to work on. So I double click to edit the component. Push that away. E on the keyboard to erase that construction line I don't need. So there's a knee brace. Edit. Unhide all. Next we're going to want to cut some mortises in the post. So a rectangle between this point and this point. Push, push, 3-inch mortise. And we want a similar mortise. And the nice thing about that is there's actually already a 3-inch mortise on the opposite post because that post is a copy. On the girt, we want to create a 3-inch mortise as well. Rectangle between this point and this point. P to push pull. If I double click, it'll repeat the last push operation. So I got the same 3-inch mortise in the girt. I'm going to want to make one for the other knee brace, but actually it'll be helpful to have the knee brace as a reference. So again, M to move and make a copy. Right click, flip along component's red direction, and then I can just pick it up and complete the move operation to put it in place. All right, now I know where to cut the mortise on the other side of the girt. Double click the girt, R for rectangle between this point and this point. P to push pull 3 inches, type 3 on the keyboard, hit enter. There we go, we've got one full bent all drawn. That's giving you the basics, right? The keys are make components, M will hold the control key to make copies, the T tape measure drawing reference line is a very handy tool, and that's probably enough for one video. I will pick it up from here in the next video and show you creating copies of the 3 bents, adding knee braces and plates and rafters. If you'd like to complete the timber frame in SketchUp, click the link on the left for part 2 of the video. If you'd rather see the timber frame come to life in the real world, click the playlist on the right. Before you leave, remember to hit that like button and click subscribe. Thanks for watching.